Hello, gentle marketers. Welcome to episode number 32 of the Gentle Business Revolution podcast, the show where we talk about marketing your business by disrupting the current marketing paradigm and changing it to a gentler approach, one that's based on empathy and kindness. As always, I'm Ferris. I'm the host on this show, and you know that you're in the right place if you are a heart-centered entrepreneur or change maker who is looking for a better way to market your business. Or you are an entrepreneur who is simply tired of the traditional marketing model and are ready for a paradigm shift. You might also be a marketing impact pioneer working for an organization who does business for good. Today's episode falls under the P of partnerships of the Gentle Marketing Mandala. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can download your one-page marketing plan that comes with 7 days of email prompts to fill out your 7 Ps of marketing at sarahsanakroce.com/one-page/1 page altogether. I think one thing that I did well in my business is that I hired help relatively early on. Even before having a budget for a virtual assistant, I outsourced jobs I didn't know how to do to others who specialized in them. For example, logos. My first logo for my company that back in the days was called Simplicity. Actually, it's still registered at the Chamber of Commerce as Simplicity. So it was a stack of stones, and I had that outsourced to a design agency in India, and I was really happy with their work. So yeah, the logo is an example, any kind of design work, because I'm really not good at that. Luckily now I have my son who sometimes helps out. He, for example, designed the mandala. So Simon is really good at drawing and design. And anything that really has to do with my website, I've always got help for that. So that was the first step, realizing that my time is better invested elsewhere rather than wasting 10 hours trying to design a logo with less than average results. And at the same time, also accepting that business expenses can actually be a positive thing, because often when we first start out, we just think that we don't have money and that we have to do everything ourselves. And that can be a real trap, because then we really can't move on or can't progress as fast as we wish we could, because we're trying to do everything. So if that's the stage your business is at right now, I highly recommend reading Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, for example. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. And he really also highlights this idea of outsourcing things that you're not good at. And then, of course, there will be mishaps, communication issues, and even epic fails. I remember working with one service provider I hired for web design, and he ended up plagiarizing half of my website copy for his own site. So that was a good laugh. Luckily, I didn't take it too seriously, because he was in an offshore country where I didn't feel like like he was stealing my clients or anything like that. But it was a good lesson learned. I'm like, oh, okay, I have to kind of, be careful with these things and maybe pay attention. So I continue to delegate small projects to external service providers on a per-need basis. But I also have a small team of regulars by now. Everyone is part-time, and all of them have other clients. So they run their own business, they're entrepreneurs. And so it really is a win-win for everyone, because they get the flexibility and I get the financial flexibility. Over time, I also did learn what to look out for when hiring a team member. And here are some questions that are important to ask. So in a job description that I used just recently to hire Andrea, my business manager, I asked her, for example, what interests you about this role? When are you your best at work? What types of tasks or projects energize you most? Another one, describe a recent time you were in the zone at work. What were you working on? What made time fly? And how do you see your strengths fitting in with the job requirements? What ideas or improvements would you be able to help implement? What other roles are you juggling, if any? For example, what's your availability? How do you envision managing your time and getting work done? And then the last one, outside of work, what activities do you enjoy? These questions were inspired by other job descriptions that I've seen, and also Jenny, my coach and mentor, gave me some ideas on how to ask these questions ahead of time. I would also recommend that you don't ask those kind of questions in a job interview, because they need some reflection, right? It's not something that you can just think of while you're speaking to someone and maybe are even a bit nervous. So the way I recommend you use them is by sending them ahead of time so that the person can actually answer them in writing. Because when you then speak to the person, it would be too difficult for anyone, never mind an introvert, to come up with good answers to these questions right on the fly. So another thing that helped me is, and if the person that you're interviewing is willing to give you information on their birth date and place, you might also enjoy looking up their human design or astrology birth chart. A recent guest on a podcast episode told me that she hired her virtual assistant based on her human design. So she, the business owner, was a projector, or is a projector. A projector is someone who waits to be recognized and invited. And knowing this about herself, from going into what are my values, how am I designed, all of the things that we do in the P of personal power. Well, she knew that she wasn't going to be very successful with being invited on podcasts if it was only up to her. So she purposely went looking for a generator or manifesting generator VA. And in Kavita, she found her dream partner and has been working with her forever. So if the person agrees to give you their birth date and place, that might be very interesting information for you as well, to kind of see how you are a good fit, looking at either human design or astrology or any kind of other of these personal assessments. So where do you find team members? Well, probably the best one or place is to get a referral from peers, mentors, or even in your community, because not only do you have a reference, but it's also a reference that you really trust. So you already know someone who has worked with this person. That's like the best reference. You can also find them on LinkedIn. I have found previous virtual assistants by just using the search on LinkedIn. And so you go into the top left search bar to find a service provider for the expertise that you're looking for. And then there's the sites like Odesk and Upwork and Fiverr and these sorts of sites. So in there, just really make sure that you check people's recommendations, because they do matter. And I use Fiverr, or have used it more actually in the past. Right now, I don't have that many small projects that I can think of, but Fiverr is definitely a good resource for these small, odd jobs, like adding music to a video or editing a video, or even, I guess, podcast editing you can find on Fiverr. So have a look at Fiverr and see if you find someone that you can outsource or delegate this thing that you just would waste too much time on. A few things to remember about the partnership with your team members. I think it's really essential that you inform them about your why and your core values. If they are representing your business, they really need to adhere to your beliefs and guiding principles. So it's so that they really feel like they're part of your team and that you feel comfortable having them as, the representation of your business, if they're speaking to your clients, for example, or even prospects. Good communication is really key. It's up to you as the business owner to communicate your expectations clearly. I think the big epic fails that I mentioned were almost always because I didn't communicate clearly. So the team member can't read your mind. So it's really up to you to explain exactly what your expectations are. So yeah, communication is key. I use video a lot or just audio because it's much easier and faster. Also recommend, at least at the beginning, to have regular calls with them. So it's really an investment from your part to say, yes, I'm investing in this person, and right now that may take me longer, but this is a long-term relationship, and eventually they don't need to come back to me and ask me for everything anymore. But that's up to you. How you train your team members, and communication, again, is key. Keep them in the loop about your business. Make them feel like they are part of your team. So share important business decisions with them. Like this month, I had to send out an email to my team members and telling them, look, yes, obviously, my business is also affected by COVID-19. And at the beginning, I said, look, I really hope I can keep our agreements the way they are. And then I actually had to go down, with the hours and really just ask them for understanding and saying, hey, this is temporary and we're all in the same boat, and I definitely want you to, also be successful. So the minute my business goes up again and my clients start coming in again, obviously we'll readjust. So share important business decisions with them. Really make them feel like they are in the same boat with you. And finally, care about their personal well-being. Whatever energy boundaries you have in place for yourself also apply to your team members. So if you don't work on weekends, don't expect them to work on weekends. If you don't, work after hours, the same goes for them. So it's really about making sure that you walk your talk and don't outsource something and then expect them to work their butt off while you have your energy boundaries in place. Before I share a few tips on how to collaborate with your team, I wanted to let you know that in May, I'll be adding a new possibility for us to get together. I'm starting a Gentle Business Circle, a community of supporters of this podcast. And the Gentle Business Circle is a safe zone to hang out with me and like-minded conscious entrepreneurs and help each other build our business and grow our impact. When you join the circle, you get a live monthly circle Q&A call with me and fellow gentle marketers. And of course, you can submit questions in advance if you can't make the live call, and a recording will be sent out together with a newsletter. And as well, when you sign up, I give you access to my new mini course that's called Authentic and Fair Pricing, as well as some other secret bonus episodes every now and then that I'll be sharing only with the Gentle Business Circle. These calls take place once per month, every second Wednesday of the month. And there are different levels of support starting at $7 per month. And you can find out more at sarahsanacroce.com/circle. I would absolutely love to hang out with you on these second Wednesdays of the month, get to know each other, support each other, be in this community with each other. So back to the collaboration with your team. How do you then collaborate with your team? I think it starts with really finding out, first of all, what you want to delegate and what you can delegate. And that always starts with a list of weekly, monthly, yearly, repetitive tasks that you can delegate to someone. And then from there, you need to decide on your budget. How much time is this going to free up for you? How can you better use this time? And then really also start to calculate, well, what's your budget? How much can you put in to invest, really? Because it's an investment. How much can you invest in help that then helps you grow your business further and faster? Once you found your new team member, I highly recommend having an operations manual, ideally in a Google Doc. So I learned that the second round. I started out many years ago with having operations procedures in a Word document, and then in the end we never updated them, and they all just sat on my computer and collected dust. So now for this, I just redid this whole thing together with Jenny, my coach, who helped me doing that. And now I have them on a Google Doc. And so the team members have access, and I actually ask them to update any processes that we add or that are changing. So it's a shared responsibility. So that's what I really recommend, that you have a Google Doc that you can both access it and it's always up to date. So what you do, or what you use this operations manual for, is to create processes for each task so that you don't always have to answer the same questions. And it's also there in the unfortunate case that this relationship ends. So it's happened to me several times that the VA says, I finally decided to go back to a corporate job, or one of the VAs decided that she wanted to spend more time with her kids. So these things happen, life happens. And so if you don't kind of write down anything, any processes, well, then you have to start everything over again from scratch. That's why it's so important that you have all your processes written down, and someone new can then just come in and pick up from there. So highly recommend the operations manual. And yes, if this is the first time you're doing this, it will take some time, but believe me, it'll be well worth it. Then for the collaboration, I use Trello, but I know a lot of people who are using Asana. I personally like Trello because of the visual aspect. I just like the way it's presented, but Asana is definitely also a good collaboration tool, project management tool. And I also use video a lot in our communications. I use loom.org for that mostly, or Zoom if it's a longer video or a conference call. And this year also, I'm really trying to minimize email exchanges and have all communications take place on Trello. So you can tag each other, and then every kind of exchange takes place on Trello. And the positive side of this is really that you have the history, and that you don't lose anything or have to constantly go back to your email to search for answers that you don't remember what they said. So everything is in one place, and so far it's working actually out quite well. You really know you have done a good job with your team when you can go on a 2-week vacation and your business just keeps going in your absence. So emails are being answered, podcasts are being posted, newsletters keep going out, etc., etc. And I'm not 100% there, but I'm on a good track, I would say. So that's what I wanted to share with you regarding the partnership with team members. And if you have any questions regarding this, well, the Gentle Business Circle would be a great opportunity to ask these or any other questions. Again, this is a community of supporters of this podcast with a monthly live Q&A call and a safe zone to hang out with like-minded, conscious entrepreneurs. You can check out the details at sarahzenekroce.com/circle. Thank you so much for listening. Next week, I'm talking to Tara McMullen, who questioned all her assumptions around business and marketing and completely restructured her business model. the gentle and inclusive way. I hope you'll join me on this journey to a kinder marketing paradigm. More than ever, do we need gentle marketing? Please invite your friends to join us by sharing this podcast or the Gentle Business Manifesto with them. Both can be found at thegentlebusinessrevolution.com. Oh, and as always, a review on iTunes would totally make my day. Let's be the change we want to see in the world. Speak soon.